Imagine this: you haven't eaten in 2 full days. Your stomach is growling so loud you can barely hear yourself think. But you're not panicking. You know exactly where the herd is. You tracked them yesterday. You found their prints in the mud, studied every little detail, and you've got the whole route mapped out in your head. All you gotta do is get there, make the kill, and eat. Simple, right? Then, it starts raining. Not some cute little drizzle. I'm talking heavy, soaking, wind-whipping rain that just does not stop. It comes down all day. Then all night. Next morning? Still pouring. It's like the sky opened up and decided today's the day it's gonna mess with you. Suddenly everything changes. You can't hunt. The tracks you were relying on? Washed away like they never existed. You can't even move through the open ground because the rocks are slippery, your feet are bare, and one wrong step means a twisted ankle. Out there, a twisted ankle isn't just painful, it's a death sentence. You're done. The river next to your little camp is rising fast. That fire you built, the one thing keeping you warm, scaring off the predators at night, and letting you cook whatever scraps you have, it's starting to struggle. The rain is winning. You're not bored, man. You're trapped. Stuck. Look, for most of human history, rain wasn't just an inconvenience like it is for us. For us, rain means close the window, make some coffee, throw on a hoodie, grab a blanket, and scroll Netflix until we fall asleep. The sound of rain is literally relaxing ASMR now. But 50,000 years ago? That same sound could straight up kill you in multiple ways before the storm even passed. First off, the cold. A wet human loses body heat up to 25 times faster than a dry one. No fancy waterproof jackets, no Gore-Tex, nothing. Just your skin and maybe some basic animal hides. If the temperature drops below about 50 degrees at night, which it easily did in a lot of places our ancestors lived, even in Africa at higher elevations, you could be in full hypothermia territory in just a few hours. Shivering, confused, body shutting down. Scary stuff. Second, flooding. A lot of early humans lived in caves and rock shelters. Those spots were great for protection, until it rained hard. Archaeologists have found thick layers of flood sediment inside caves that still had human tools and bones in them. That means the water came rushing in while people were actually living there. Some of those caves were abandoned forever after. One big storm and your home is gone. And third, this one might be the worst, predators. When it rains like crazy, every animal is looking for shelter too. Sometimes that shelter is the same cave you're in. There are sites in South Africa where they've found human bones right next to big cat bones in the same layers. Some of those human skulls have puncture marks that line up perfectly with leopard teeth. Imagine hiding from the rain and suddenly you're sharing your spot with a leopard. No thanks. So rain didn't just suck. It compressed the whole world. Humans, prey animals, predators, everybody got squeezed into the same few dry places at the exact same time. Tension was insane. And in the middle of all that chaos, there was one single thing that mattered more than food, more than shelter, more than anything else: keeping the fire going. This is wild to think about. We know humans were using controlled fire at least 400,000 years ago, maybe even 1,000,000 years back at Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. But starting a fire from scratch? That's a whole different skill. For a huge chunk of human history, most people probably couldn't just rub two sticks together reliably every single time. If your fire died, you were in serious trouble. Some groups got smart and carried embers with them, wrapped in green leaves or tucked inside special tinder fungus that could smolder for hours without going out. It was like nature's version of a Bic lighter. When they found Otzi the Iceman frozen in the Alps 5,300 years ago, the dude was carrying a full fire-starting kit in his pouch: tinder fungus, flint, pyrite for sparks, extra tinder. Even back then, losing your fire was a big enough deal that people carried backup gear specifically for it. So when the rain hit, forget everything else. First priority, protect that fire. Move it deeper into the cave. Shield it with hides or branches. Feed it carefully, not too much wet stuff, not too little. You go out and find dead lower branches from conifer trees that are still protected by the canopy above. You split open logs to get to the dry wood inside. Birch bark became gold because it has this chemical called betulin that actually lets it burn even when it's wet. I can picture it so clearly, one person in the group, probably the most patient one, just sitting there for hours, babysitting that flame. Shielding it from every gust of wind that blows in. Adding little bits of fuel at the perfect moment. Because if that fire goes out, the whole group is in danger. That fire was warmth. It was light. It was protection. It was cooked food. And it was the heart of every conversation, every story, every plan you made as a group. Letting it die wasn't careless. It was potentially fatal for everyone. Okay, so the fire's safe. You're mostly dry. But you still can't leave the cave. The rain is still coming down in sheets. So what do you do with all that time? You make things. The archaeological record is packed with proof. Caves are full of stone tools in every stage of production, from rough blanks to finished spear points. There are concentrated piles of tiny flint flakes right where someone would have been sitting near the firelight, knapping tools for hours on end. But it wasn't just stone tools. At Blombo's cave in South Africa, they found a 100,000-year-old ochre processing workshop. Abalone shells used as little mixing bowls. Ochre ground into fine powder. Bone tools for stirring and applying the pigment. This wasn't, "Oh, I need red dirt real quick." This was deliberate manufacturing. Someone sat there during a storm and ran a whole production system. Then you've got bone needles showing up around 61,000 years ago. These things are tiny, delicate, with carefully drilled eyes. You don't make something that precise while you're running from lions or chasing dinner. You make it when you've got hours of forced downtime and good light from the fire. At one Neanderthal site in France called Aubry du Marais, they found twisted plant fibers, the oldest direct evidence of string we have, around 52,000 years old. And at Hohlfels Cave in Germany, there's a 35,000-year-old tool carved out of mammoth ivory with holes and grooves specifically designed for twisting fibers into rope. Somebody literally invented a rope-making machine while stuck inside waiting for the rain to stop. Rope changed everything. You could tie tools to handles, build better shelters, make snares, carry stuff. So much of human tech runs on string and rope, and it was probably invented by some bored, but focused, person sitting in a cave listening to the rain. They didn't stop at tools. They made their living space better too. At Sabuta Cave in South Africa, going back 77,000 years, they found actual bedding. Layers of sedges and grasses arranged like sleeping mats. The top layers had leaves from the Cape laurel plant, a natural insect repellent. They even burned and replaced the bedding regularly to keep it clean. Pest control, 77,000 years ago. They weren't just surviving. They were making a home. Now here's where it gets really cool. All that practical stuff, tools, rope, bedding, that makes sense. But then they went further. They started making art. Chauvet Cave in southern France has paintings around 36,000 years old. Lions, horses, rhinos, bears, drawn with insane skill. The artists understood anatomy, movement, perspective. Some animals are shown mid-stride, muscles flexing, heads turning. These aren't random doodles. These are people who spent thousands of hours observing animals, and then recreated them from memory, deep underground by flickering firelight. And the paintings aren't near the entrance where it's safe and dry. They're hundreds of meters deep, in chambers you have to crawl through. Someone carried animal fat lamps into total darkness just to create. You don't do that when the weather's perfect and the hunting is easy. You do that when you've already sharpened every tool, fixed every piece of gear, and the rain is still pouring outside. There's nothing left but to go deeper into the dark and make something beautiful. We can't prove every painting was made on a rainy day, but the pattern makes so much sense. The biggest creative explosion in human prehistory happened in exactly the places where people got stuck inside for long stretches. Think about it. You've got 15 to 30 people crammed into a cave for days. Fire is going. Rain is hammering outside. There's nothing to do but sit together. What happens? You talk. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied the Jews/Hoansi Bushmen. Daytime conversations were all practical: land rights, resources, complaints. But at night around the fire? Over 80% of the talk turned into stories, songs, and ceremonies. The firelight changed everything. It softened faces, lowered tension, made people open up. That campfire was the original social network. The place where real knowledge got passed on. Where to find water in the dry season. Which plants are safe. How to track a specific animal. How to make that new tool you just invented. But it wasn't just survival tips. They told stories about why the rain comes, where it goes, why the world works the way it does. Every ancient culture has rain myths. Somebody had to invent those stories, and they almost certainly did it while sitting in the exact situation the story was trying to explain. Some of these oral traditions are unbelievably old. Australian Aboriginal stories accurately describe sea level changes from over 7,000 years ago. That knowledge survived through nothing but people telling the same stories over and over around fires just like this. Rainy days became transmission days. Old people teaching the young. Skills being demonstrated. The group's shared memory getting reinforced and updated. Here's the part a lot of people miss: rain wasn't always bad. Sometimes it was a gift. After a heavy rain, the ground gets soft. That means perfect tracking conditions. Deep, clear prints that tell you exactly what animal passed, how fast, how long ago. Some of the best hunting happens right after the rain stops. Rain also meant fresh water. Early humans collected it in rock depressions, some of which they even carved deeper to hold more. And after rain, the land explodes with life. Mushrooms pop up. Tubers get easier to dig. Insects come out. Termites swarm in huge numbers in Africa, crazy high protein, and you can just pick them up by the handful. Chimps still do this today. Our ancestors definitely took advantage. So a long rainy period didn't kill the food supply. It changed it. The smart groups who understood the new opportunities ate well. When the rain finally stopped, our ancestors walked out of those caves better than when they went in. Sharper tools. Stronger rope. Warmer clothes. Deeper knowledge. New stories. New art. Every major leap, better tools, clothing, art, culture, came from that forced downtime. From sitting near the fire when they couldn't go outside and had nothing to do except think, create, and connect with each other. Boredom as we know it didn't real.